Thank you so much, Veracity, for that. We're getting ready to jump on in for our Division 1 finals. I'm Yusuf Milkisiro bin Sahel. On my right, on your guys' left, is Sam Initialize Hapgood. On my left is Tom Temporal Nash. How are you doing, gentlemen?
I am doing very well. It has been a long day of some very exciting series. I'm just hoping Division 1 lives up to the Division 2 finals, because that was a banger of a game.
What about you, Tom?
I'm glad we squeezed in dinner, but we had a show. We had a show to watch up on the big screen. Division 2 really did play out fantastically. So tense, so dramatic, real saga of a series.
Yeah, if people are tuning in wondering what did happen in Division 2, maybe you wanted to watch the Division 2 finals. It was a 3-game absolute banger. Mag EXE taking the win over BTC. And for those of you who are joining us from the Metronome, we've had some absolutely fantastic events happening. I know the sim racing has been something that's close to my heart. I've been enjoying. Sam, has there been anything that you've been enjoying?
I've been enjoying watching Temporal. Playing the 1v1 tournament. It was a League of Legends 1v1 tournament. I think you might have run into one of the finalists, actually, didn't you, Tom? How did that go for you, mate?
I ran into. Is my ear up?
That's the one.
As you can see, the mental scars inflicted on me by this top laner, slightly damaging. I took a risky level 1.
Shocking.
It did not work.
That's the reason he casts. It's the reason he's not playing. That's all I'm saying.
So just to clarify, because some people might be wondering, what are we talking about?
Indeed.
In the main lobby, we had, or next to the restaurant, there was a League of Legends 1v1 tournament happening. So Temporal, along with Sati, the analyst that was casting for the previous series, decided, you know what, let's test our skills, let's check out the opposition, see what they're capable of. And the top laner from Chimphouse was pretty good. I think we can accept.
Pretty decent. Ban Riven,
Did you pass your test?
Ban Riven.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was a fun one to watch. I mean, of course, I think both of these teams look pretty exciting. While, of course, we're pretty excited to see the likes of, if my ease up, potentially styling on. I mean, the other side of the rift as well, Ospreys. I enjoy casting their semi-finals a lot. And there's a few players there I think should be very excited to see on this rift. I'm hoping we get a fairly close matchup between these two rosters.
Well, Ospreys, I mean, you got to see Ospreys in action in the semis. I got to see Chimphouse. Chimphouse, for me, looked really good. They were able to take down Conal Cyphers. Conal Cyphers were essentially the tournament favorites. They had a really, really good run back in the Spring All-Star Showdown where they took the win, and then from that, they kind of boosted themselves during the regular season of the current tournament that we are witnessing. Taking down Conal Cyphers 2-0 did Chimphouse, and it was a really solid performance from If My E Was Up. Played a fantastic game on the Camille, and it kind of bought time for the mid laner on the Victor just to do some really disgusting work.
A lot of damage with that Victor in the mid to late game, and it really sort of aligns with the rest of the team. They managed to play through that final, and a lot of damage was done. The Victor just going so deep after 3 items.
Yeah, for sure. It was pretty exciting. I mean, going back and watching that series prepping for today as well, it was pretty exciting to see the kind of wombo combo bloodbath that turned up at that one. Not sure Milky's voice survived all that long through that one. It was an absolute bloodbath indeed. See whether they managed to potentially clean it up a little bit here for the finals, because, you start giving quadra kills to your Victor and then giving away a pentakill straight after, that's the kind of thing which could potentially haunt you in the finals.
You mentioned that quadra kill. I don't think it was the only quadra kill of the semi-finals either, was it?
No, it really was not. There was quite a few. I mean, over for the side of the Ospreys and stuff as well, there's a few players I've definitely got my eyes on. Kunai down in the bot lane in particular, running Samira alongside Tarek down there was pretty damn terrifying. Just a lot of really, really strong players in that role, and Kunai's definitely up there among them with the British Esports series and tournament that's been going on over the last few months.
Kunai's been doing great. She's had some real standout performances, and we look to see more. It's the grand finals. You got to bring your A game. This is what a year's worth of tournament has led into. And now, with the compositions that Chimphouse like to play, we're expecting explosions, we're expecting drama, and we're expecting health bars to go missing very, very quickly.
You mentioned those kind of drafts that Chimphouse like to play. When we go back to the semi-finals that they did have against Conal Cyphers, Camille in the top lane, you had the Jarvan for extra lockdown, Ashe for the pick potential, the Victor as well. It's a very clear style of play for them.
It is. They have these two dynamics, and different players will take on different ones. The jungle tends to just play for lanes, plays the Jarvan, plays things that sacrifice themselves, but then say to my friends, hey, you're going to be able to make it that extra bit further. You're going to be able to finish out the game. We see plenty of variety, but definitely a long-range stun or long-range CC coming out. They like to have something reliable to play off. Outside of that, the concentric circles, lots of AoE damage, lots of ways to inflict a whole team's worth of damage in one go.
Yeah, and when, well, you mentioned that the top lane very strong for Chimp, and we did see a lot of action towards the top side for them enabling their solo laners. But for Ospreys, it's not exactly the same as it initialized.
Not exactly. I mean, it's been a bit interesting watching. If you look back over the replays there, you saw Quinoa on the Nico and then on the Aurelia, pretty strong there. We've seen, obviously, we talked about the Samira down the bot side, but, you know, top lane as well. I mean, like, this is a guy who plays like the likes of the Gnar and a lot of other split pushes as well, and it becomes a bit of a question. We were having to have this discussion off air in the back rooms when we were sort of prepping for all of this over the last few days and the like, basically, well, actually, how do we expect junglers and the like to play this? Because potentially you could try and influence a top lane matchup where things like Riven get played and Gnars get played, and that's quite volatile, but then you've also got to think about what's going on in that bot lane where you have got some star carries around.
I kind of agree with all of these things. I have already started to realize
that's a good start.
Not
disagreement yet. We managed like 10 minutes before we start disagreeing.
I realized I put a player on the wrong team halfway through that last point, so we're already straight out the window.
Is that what the smile was, right?
Yeah, the smile was the. I know what
I genuinely thought I'd messed up, and I was like, I think I'm okay, but I'm going to keep going and hope.
I was just sat in the middle, and I just kind of looked over to you. I saw a smile. I looked over to Tamura. I saw a smile. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but it's just kind of going over me. Okay, but we do have a new patch in, and before we talk, I like that seriously. We do. Okay, now before we talk a little bit about the players, some of the spicy picks that might be coming up, and talking about draft as well. Why don't you talk us through what is cool about this patch? What is maybe not cool, and what are the spiciness that we can be seeing? What's the chili that can be added to the mix?
Chili indeed. 11, 14. Bought a whole bunch of changes in for some mythic items. We saw Stridebreaker not be a dash anymore. We saw 2 new items added. We saw Sanguine Blade, Say Goodbye. So side lanes now play nearly completely differently. Team fighting supports, which were already starting to see a mutation in the meta. They saw a shift towards the Abyssal Mask. If you guys were watching LEC at home earlier today, you'll have seen a Galio, particularly XL's new support Advian, doing fantastically and picking up Abyssal Mask first. In a sort of finals where we see Ospreys who play this concentric circles, they play the CC bringers, having that Abyssal Mask to make that pop-up go even further, 15% further indeed, is a real game changer. And then we have stuff like the Anathemas Chains, which all of these characters that Stagram plays would love to enjoy and love to build first. They offer all these extra conditions with the increased CC duration, and the Nemesis system, something new to League of Legends we haven't seen a lot. Throw that on top of Tahm Kench coming out. It's a brand new champion, pretty much. Goodbye, old Kench. Hello, new Kench. Just offering, I think, one of the better top lane experiences on the patch.
If you're playing it, for everybody else, it's a nightmare.
Indeed. It's very selfish, and it looks oh so stylish when executed correctly.
Well, you mentioned the Nemesis style. I know for me, I don't have any friends out on the wrist.
So certainly not off the wrist either, considering what's been going on in this desk.
All right, but then, folks, we're heading on in for picks and bans. Ospreys over on the blue side, Chimpals over on the red side, and that's Sejuani, the first ban to come through initialize.
And I am not surprised to see Aurelia off the table. You saw the highlight reel literally as the teams are walking on. Do not give that to Quinoa, whatever the OP.GGs might say. And Temporal can tell you all about the Riven that you do not give to If My E Was Up.
If My E Was Up has played about 600 games of Riven this season. Played up against my 6-game Renekton, and it did not go well. I'm going to punch myself in the gut before you guys can get to it.
We'll return the favour later. It's fine.
Was that an excuse that I just heard?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, okay.
Very, very strong on this pick. Expected to not be present in this series, but pulling a first-round banner out of your opponents for free, particularly on blue side this patch, pretty decent thing to be able to do as a player.
Yeah, I'm sort of seeing that Kiana come out interestingly alongside the Gnar, but that is a very fast Kayle lock-in. I suspect that might actually even be going towards the top lane.
Okay, I've played a lot of Kayle historically.
Okay.
Oh no.
No, Milky has had some GeoQ
PTSD is triggering for me.
What happened?
I win games.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, we'll move on.
Move on.
Kayle's traditionally not in a great place right now. None of the new mythics really suit us. Sure, Riftmaker's okay, Kraken Slayer's okay, but Kraken Slayer indeed has a bug on it, which isn't too good with that champion. Alistair and Amumu stand across.
Ooh.
just going to wait on word from production to make sure that is, of course, Amumu. There's a world where potentially proxy picks. I'm not sure whether that's a thing currently, but it might just be the lock into the Amumu. I mean, it's a big AoE ultimate that works with the playstyle of the jungler anyway, so in some ways, I wouldn't mind seeing it.
In some ways, I wouldn't mind at all. I think Amumu's slightly underrated. The small nerf to Sunfire is enough to knock him out of meta early season. But I think, you know, he hasn't fallen too far. Easy to execute, and that big R button always looks so good on stage.
I don't know about you guys, but so far for me, looking at this draft, I look over to the side of Ospreys. I see Kale, I see Ari. Two champions to me that can really show up and make some really big plays. But then you look over to the side of Chimphouse, and for me, this seems more of a team fight composition, more of a selfless style of play initialize.
I think that's fair to say. They've left a lot of their carries unpicked right now. They've gone more towards, okay, let's just get the initiation sorted. That's what we're after. The carries can come later. We can counterpick that way. Interesting that the cat's been taken onto the Rift. See whether that can be a cat if this series around. I mean, they've definitely shown some good stuff on that kind of thing. Before you stick a Yuumi on a Kayle late game, and you can imagine how quickly people get run down in a lot of danger. As Akali, this will be post-nerfs, I think. I'm not quite sure when the nerfs are coming through, but locked in all the same.
Locked in all the same. I think the champion still offers pretty much the same thing. You just will see people evaporate slightly less quickly in the late game.
Still evaporate.
Still evaporate. I want to bring it back around. Milky mentioned that Osprey's draft looks really selfish so far. It really does. We're looking for single champion elimination here. Yuumi goes on top of someone. Kayle, divine interventions on top of someone. And makes that one person sort of a juggernaut, unstoppable. Whereas on Chimpouse's side, we see something more selfless. Sure, the Akali is that primary assassin, works so well in combination with her teammates, with the Amumu, with the Alistar, to negate any potential escapes, covering up those nerfs potentially. And with the defense starting to come through, we see this unfold as Chimpouse may be looking more well-rounded.
Now, something that I do want to bring up is Ospreys. We talked a little bit about Kunai earlier. Big, big carry for Ospreys. Pops off so much. And that ADC role is still open. The Misfortune and the Vayne taken away. But there was a different champion that got picked by Kunai in the semi-finals.
Yeah, Samira was a little bit nuts, particularly towards the sort of mid and late stage of that game. It got a bit silly, particularly with the Taric. Of course, this time it would be with a Yuumi, so not quite the same, but you hit level 6 and you still get the immobilize, you still get a jump on people, and it could get quite sad for anybody caught up in that. Yasuo last ban alongside the Sylas, which kind of makes it more of a mid lane focus realistically for Ospreys, whereas much more, as you mentioned, towards the AD carries. And we've got still some work for both these teams to round out. I mean, honestly, Chimphouse, while they've got the initiation of the Akali, there's quite a lot of their kind of flavor of composition to really work out here still.
It's open. Those last two bans away from Ospreys really really interesting, because while they do defend the Ahri sort of in a vacuum, and we see the Cassiopeia taken as the answer, they also defend an AD carry who wants to go quite deep. Sylas won't be able to duel them one-on-one and will open up some assignments in the side lane. Yasuo won't be able to negate their damage. What it could be is that this is an incredibly defended Samira, but I'm not sure because of the Alistar and the Yuumi. It doesn't really make sense.
Milky's also done a very rapid point to our notes over here as well, because it's worth pointing out that Bossman Jones down on that bot side does in fact put a fair amount of time into the Cassiopeia themselves, so there's a world where that's going bot lane.
Well, we'll have to see. Maybe something else too. That's a Taric. That's an Orianna. There's a Taric and a Yuumi, so we're going to wait to hear if that is a placeholder. But presuming it's not temporal, how do you see, well, what on earth is going on?
This might be the a Kayle in the bot lane is possible. Wow, that's
Talon as well. Oh my days, right. What is going on?
I can only presume proxy picks are allowed for this draft. Otherwise, AD carry Ahri versus
yeah, otherwise
Cassiopeia.
because of madness.
It might be the case. You know,
I mean, I'm down for madness.
I mean, considering that Talon did get locked in, well, we are out, so we don't know what was the placeholder. I'm also curious because technically, if Chimphouse didn't know that that was a placeholder, then they could argue, okay, we want to be able to repick that Talon at the end because it's into a different composition. But
I mean, what it leaves us with is like we've made all this analysis. And
it's pointless. It's pointless.
We've been super serious. It's like, yeah, that might not be a Mumu after all. Which, in fairness, we called out earlier on. We'll wait and see. Otherwise, maybe it's the time for Yuumi jungle. It's gonna be.
I'm down.
No. But don't tell me actually, Milky. I don't want to know. That's gonna be.
No, it reminded me one game I played Soraka jungle, I actually got an S. I got an S on it.
I mean, is that because of like just there's so few Soraka jungle game? Okay.
This is how to get a
is there a way to mute Milky? Just like for everybody to get rid of it from it.
I mean, if you want to unmute Sam as well.
It's all good fun and games. Okay, the Ahri is still locked in, so we might be seeing that in the bottom lane. As
here's the Amumi.
Normally, people just lock in what they picked after a proxy draft.
Okay.
Flankington's still got that Alistair, which we were fairly sure was going in that general direction. The Taric and the Orianna picked up by Nixtragram and, pardon me, and Quinoa.
There we go. Got you.
Yeah, got there in the end. Got there in the end.
It's a lot of fun, that name, if you're not familiar with the food that goes with it. And let's face it, if you're not much of a hipster, you might not have realized.
It's literally a pseudo cereal. It's not a grain. It's not a cereal.
Did I say cereal? Did I say cereal?
It's not. It's a pseudo cereal. No, do not add milk to quinoa. That would be awful. All right, well, looks like that will not be Yuumi as yet, though there is a Hecarim being hovered here, so that's looking a little bit more likely, and there we have it. So that, not quite sure what's going to be going bot lane as yet. Potentially Ahri, potentially Kayle, I suppose, is a world there. And on the other side, I've got this final pick to remain that's still looking like it might be the Talon, or at least the hover there.
And that would be a Talon going in the mid lane. Kayle up in the top lane. Well, it has been picked up by Big Pal, so unless there are some rotations, that is how things are looking.
I would expect this to be the Ahri AD carry, whether we'll see it actually go AD, which is something of yesteryear, or something more towards the AP carry style, using the reduced gold value on Ludens on this patch to get the waves cleared a little bit earlier. Sam, do you want to text your brother?
I would do so.
Oh, yes.
Of course, big-time Ahri main and analyst and color caster of Zone right now. I'm a big Ahri player. We'll shout him out briefly here. I'm sure he's messaging me as it stands. Let's see whether, of course, can be carried off to perfection here. Looking like it's still going to be Kunite picking that one up. So it does look like it'll be the bot lane Ahri. No switches as yet. So Temporal, good read on that one.
It has a really interesting matchup into the Cassiopeia match.
Yeah, so I've been hearing.
That's a mid-lane matchup that we know and understand very much that gets twisted really quickly when you start adding other characters into the
Taric and Alistair's quite a twist, really.
Yeah, as you go, it adds up
a fairly
to
big one.
adds up to the Cassiopeia getting even more of a wombo combo because her conditional slows and little cute things and move speed now matter more because she's doing it against two people and you're evading their conditions as well. And the support behind the Ahri is having a really, really rough time, generally speaking.
But
like, you are carrying the Taric into the late game, though.
But imagine, though, if you manage to Spirit Rush with Dazzle on top of you, get that beautiful stun into Charm combo. Like, I see the beauty. The problem is you are dashing, straight into a Cassiopeia who has an R button herself. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I'm probably with you, though, Temple. I'm thinking probably Cassiopeia, Alistair favored in terms of just the combos you can put out. But again, I can't say I have a lot of experience thinking about that lane, so I could be wrong yet.
It has been a long time since I've thought about it. I'll be really interested to see if these players who are confident to pick this game one on stage, by the way.
I know! I am so excited. We asked for some craziness.
I know! The thing that I don't get is we came into this, right?
Carries? This is not there!
No, look. I'm looking at my prep, and our prep was, okay, Kunai's this really good player, popped off on the Samira in semi-finals, so we're going to be seeing Samira. We thought, okay, maybe Lux Swain. But all of a sudden, we've got Ahri.
At this point, it's going to be, might even be roll swaps. Watch him like switch lanes just to really screw this.
Don't get me wrong, I love this.
Just throw the notes away. It's gone. Don't need them. Yeah. It's over.
It's going to be that sort of game.
I'll pick those up later, don't worry. We're blind now. We've got nothing.
Okay, well, this is where we stand, ladies and gents. We've got ourselves two very different compositions. All right, I mean, like, I'm aware that actually on the other side for Chimp House spot, that's Talon Akali solo lanes. Like, one of those guys get rolling at this kind of, like, where, like, I'm expecting a bloodbath, right? I think we're all expecting a bloodbath. Like, one of those gets a couple kills early, and the bloodbath goes very one-sided very quickly.
So, that's completely true. And it's going to be on those assassins to be a little bit creative because they can't just mash sort of like hard force the assassin style here. You're playing into a Taric.
Yeah.
You're playing into a Hecarim.
Yeah.
They have a lot of disruption, a lot of agency. And if you just try and brute force these assassins, you're going to be stuck with a Cassiopeia and 4 people in the backpack.
And then Hecarim has, like, Divine Judgment thrown on top of him as he counter-engages, and, a Cosmic Radiance as well. Like, that's a lot of invulnerability the later the game goes.
Yeah, you mentioned Cosmic Radiance, there's the Kale Ultimate, but there's actually another word that you used that I want to go into a bit more depth on, which is Bloodbath. Maybe that's 2 words. So, now, Temporal, I know Sam knows this, so I'm not going to ask him.
Okay.
Do you know how many kills there were in the Chimp House second semi-final game?
Is this the 60 kill special?
No, because that wasn't the number of kills.
Oh, okay. No, I don't.
It was 80 kills in a 45-minute game.
I thought I was going to be too high.
No, you were 20 kills shy.
So, I mean, we're in for a bloodbath. If our viewers, if you thought, the Division 2 finals had a lot of action, well, Chimp House know how to up the action just a little bit.
Oh, my days. I am so ready. Welcome to the Jungle. Chimp House. We're already there. It's in the name. Ospreys are joining. I am very excited for this one, purely because of, I am, frantically doing, mental gymnastics to work out how all these comps are going to play in later on. And then, I'm just so pleased that both of these teams have come ready to play with just some wonderful wackiness. It could have just been, standard meta stuff. It could have been maybe just the occasional pick. No, it's literally Cassiopeia versus Ahri bot lane.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful.
I'm happy that I'm, old and sort of grizzled, because I don't think it's my ability to analyze, pick apart game parts.
I wasn't going to say anything, but he said himself now.
Yeah. Old man over here. It's only because I'm so old and I've seen these sort of things about champion releases.
He's the oldest of us 3.
I think so.
Yeah, Ahri of 8 years ago did this a little bit, and that's my main place I'm getting knowledge from. Let's face it, it's not a new thing, and it's going to be exciting if it works.
Now, one thing that I do want to bring up, because I feel like this is quite a cool point that we should mention. I know for me, I'm pretty sure it is for you two. It's our first time casting, at LAN.
I know.
We're all pandemic casters.
I know, seriously.
Now, while we are very important, I think it's also probably more important to mention that it's the players' first time on stage. And they're pulling out these kind of comps, these kind of drafts. They have the confidence to play it, which I think is absolutely fantastic to see.
Right.
It's so exciting.
I am watching Ignite teleport Akali top. I'm watching Cassiopeia versus Ahri bot. I mean, the standard matchup here is Talon v Orianna. I mean, Amumu's not even that common in the jungle, so I don't even call that straight normal.
No, it's going to be interesting to see. We see both junglers starting on the bottom side here, so we're going to see pretty much, I'd expect, play around the Talon and Akali. In particular, it's going to be more denial from Ospreys. The Hecarim wants to sort of scale up. He wants to get his first 2 items relatively safely, relatively on rails, and he can match the Amumu there, but maybe doesn't want to go proactive on his own.
Now, one question that I do have for you two is, I'm looking over at Osprey's draft. I see an Ahri, I see an Orianna, I see a Kale. Neither of those 3 are particularly well known for their AD damage, and I don't know if the Hecarim really fills that void.
I mean, there was a world when Kale originally got reworked, which she did things like Trinity Force, so maybe it's time to bring that back. I mean, it was a while ago, way back when the Ahri used to go Trinity Force, she did AD. I'm assuming maybe one of them goes, or there's not... I mean, there's Alistair, of course, and there's Amumu who can definitely build Magic Resist and feel really happy about it. So there is some tankiness for Chimp House. So what do you think, Temporal? Because I kind of see where Milky's coming from there.
Yeah, so the current, we mentioned that no Mythic really fits on Kale. There is about 25% of games. It's normally optimal to go towards the Kraken Slayer, become an AD carry, scale it really slowly. There is a bug that makes the champion less effective in that style. She can't use her empowered auto attack at the same time as the true damage. One cancels the other out. And it makes it sort of just less effective to play, where you should just be able to right-click. That's Kale's sort of jam. Late game, it's, oh, you're coming into my house. And it's quite simplified for the Kale. To see that AD style, we're going to have to wait a bit longer to see the items.
Well, we'll see whether all those JoJo references that Temporal are making perm tree. How dare you approach me, says Kale. And, well, we'll have to see whether Akali can approach and beat the crap out of them already or not. It's going to be a tough one. And I'm interested to see whether we actually do get too much action early, because, as we kind of said, there's a few people here who want a few abilities under the name. There's a lot of big-ticket ultimates here. And I'm curious to see whether we actually do see someone go for first move, or whether we kind of see a gentleman's agreement over Scuttlecrab in particular.
Now, one of the other things I do want to bring up as well is, for Ospreys, coming into this, when we were doing our prep...
Well, we do see the Scuttlecrab go over to the Amumu. Hecarim taking that 1 extra camp means that Gap's cool, gonna take that one away and just run away all happy with himself.
Okay, well, that's that then. Not too much madness there around the Skull Crabs as yet. Gabsol just going to start wandering over to the other side now, waddling his way over, as Amumu is wont to do.
Dr. Shanklin's Spear is recalling here.
He
This
is.
isn't defended, but I think Remove Zanya is a little unhappy, maybe noticed that since both of his solo lanes had lost priority very rapidly, that he is not going to be getting either of these Scuttle Crabs.
Dr. Shankin's Spear is playing on the Talon. This is a champion that should be able to push the waves into the Orion early on, roam around, but currently 10 CS now, not really able to get that wave pressure.
Did donate a lot of the farm over to Quinoa on this Oriana by shoving it at top speed into the tower, where Oriana has a pretty decent time in the early levels, CSing nicely under the tower. Multiple stacks of the passive do let you get a few of the CS you should normally be denied.
Right, a bit of a dazzle there in the bot side, but not too much more to find. Twin Fang's fine, but Cassiopeia very low on mana at this point.
Very, very low. We did see the start on the tier, so...
Flash as well, what?
we maybe did miss something exciting, but that's okay.
The Cassiopeia looking pretty low on mana, but to go back to a previous point that I did want to bring up, which was when we were doing our prep, especially for Ospreys, we were expecting a lot of action towards the bottom side to play around Kunai, and for the Chimp House, we were expecting them to look towards this top side temporal. Is this something that you think both teams can still realistically do, given the drafts that they have available to them?
I think both of these bot lanes, flash burn, big power, just respecting. Can play around the bot lane around level 6. They have those bigger cooldowns. The mages bring them. It's more agency from the Ahri, able to dash forwards, choose, and the blowout from Bossman Jones in the bottom lane on the Cassiopeia, able to potentially stun multiple units in a bigger fight. Moves on, going for the Ocean Dragon here, so going to be playing more of a supportive role for their team. With all camps gone on the bottom side, this is optimal for the Hacker Room.
Yeah, not been spotted either, and the Scuttle Crab vision does run out. You can see a Mumu way up the other side of the map, even if there isn't a lot of solo lane pressure right now.
It does speak to that jungle path of the Amu taking. Being a little greedy, is up 10 CS, but has to re-level his own camp. That Krug will not give him as much golden experience as it potentially could have.
And that Ocean Drake will now be secured. Great stuff coming in from the Ospreys as we've got action in the mid lane.
The rake, and that's an ignite down as well. The bleed not going to be quite enough. But
is the shield?
Ooh, flash and bone by both mid lanes alongside that ignite, but not quite enough for Talon there to get the execute.
Quinoa does hold on to the teleport, so after that exchange, mild advantage here for the Oriana, but if you burn that teleport straight away, that is Dr. Shanklin Spear's summoners coming up sooner.
And let's not forget as well, that ignite is down for the Talon, which means Quinoa now has that little bit of extra safety in lane.
Yeah, it does indeed, and ult being popped there is a bit risky. There's still, by the looks, with the ult up for Talon, so could look for another re-engage by throwing that out. At least if I read my timers correctly, is actually Akali going to go in the top side here.
Oh.
Just straight
so
executes
much
it.
aggression.
Oh, just out! Oh, clean as you like.
I would love a stats check to see how much HP that Akali had at the end. Temporal, were you getting some PTSD from that play?
Sub 10. If my E was up, pulls off another solo kill, tower dive to get first blood in this series. Just like they tower dived me earlier. And yeah, unfortunately,
you were training him for this moment.
I got the return kill, and they would have died first with one extra auto, but this time much cleaner. And if my E was up, marks the series.
Yeah, if my E was up on an Akali, the Shuriken flip so damn powerful, allows it to work off. All right, we've got to keep our eyes on here at the minute. Chimp House do get that side advantage right now. If they were looking for Ahri, actually, with Chimp House. Kunai having to flash out to the wrong side of the jungle, but Gabschool is here in a very quick gank and takes out the remaining bot laner. The Gram is dead. And now Ahri retreating back to her own jungle.
I should have a funny pun here about Instagram or taking a snap, but Amumu's Q does just snap straight on, and with that,
you like it? I do. I've got to pretend not to, but I do.
A flash of brightness, and unfortunately, the Gram fall.
A good gank to come in from Gabschool, looking towards the bottom side, trying to get some aggressive plays going so far. The only jungler who has really looked for a gank so far this game, as we have been seeing so far from Remove Zony, is just power farming on the Hecarim Room.
Yeah, indeed. And it's looking like those early aggressive plays from those assassins, from even the Yeah, technical issue for us right now. We'll be kind of trying to do our best to cast off sounds alone for a second. It's going to be just fine.
Let's talk about that jungle CS change.
I was actually going to say, you know, we wanted to know about the Kayle, you know, while we're stressing out about the Kayle, but we can talk about the jungle first, Temporal here.
So, Hecarim sacrificed a whole bunch of time with their jungle side down, and then managed to also recover a 10 CS lead in the jungle, which is really, really impressive so far from the horse, because normally when you take that dragon, you're sacrificing your experience, your gold, and while Dragon does bring back a little bit of that experience, it is not comparable to clearing another side of your jungle. So really, really good work for Remove Zhonya's to get that lead back.
That's a fantastic point, Temporal, and you timed that absolutely perfectly, because now we have visuals again, and there hasn't been any more kills.
I am quite grateful for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, production. Straight on.
Wonderful stuff. Bit of a check-in here. That's a shockwave back, but look who else around Amumu is here. Phase rush on the Orianna, though, even if it has been nerfed over the last couple patches, doesn't lead to Amumu being able to get on top of her, and out goes the mid lane.
And now that that shockwave is down, surely we can see a little bit of aggression coming in from Gabscool, look towards this Orianna. Low on mana, surely needs the reset. Still has a teleport available, but that shockwave won't be up for a while. With
the flash timer so soon and Gabscool having to take a recall, it's likely the attention comes back there to burn the flash again. That opens you up for Herald most commonly. But Dragon, the focus now. We've had our first Ocean. That one went over to the Ospreys. 50 seconds on this mountain, and that means we're going to see some Cloud or Infernal.
Well, the Hecarim is looking towards the mid lane, but I'm just worried there is no mana on the Orianna. This is technically a 1v1.
Fleeing away, though, is Talon being run down by the devastating charge. Pops the ultimate to try and get out, and he jumps parkour style out of there. Has himself a path to safety and takes it with a blom.
Now, this is slightly advantage for Ospreys. Even though Dr. Shanklin Spear got away, does not hold the teleport. Top lane is dueling.
And that's looking a bit risky. So in comes the Shuriken Flip, but they have got just enough mana for the Divine Judgment. But it's now ultimate down for Kayle, and she can start looking back in the Akali, but the turnaround, that is a lot of damage with those Starfire Blades.
Perfect execution, no longer up, and that's just going to be if my E was up down. If only his E was up, he could have Shuriken Flipped back out. But that was a cold-blooded revenge coming in for Big Power.
This grants temporary teleport advantage here. Ospreys have to get onto the Drake quickly. If my E was up, we'll be ready. They are 14 seconds after channel time. Quinoa chunking out Bossman Jones. This should be advantage to Ospreys. Whether they can convert is another question.
Noon Quiver picked up by Kayle after the solo kill there. Great bait with the ultimate to force Akali to overcommit, and now they are going to start up this dragon, but half HP on the Cassiopeia makes this a bit tricky.
Teleport went up for if my E was up into the top lane. They have numbers advantage on this dragon.
Looks like, and doesn't look like Chimp House feel like they can contest now with where the teleports are at. So I think that will just be another dragon over to the Ospreys.
Yeah, as Temporal mentioned, that teleport advantage is just going to come in so big, and there's nothing Chimp House can do to contest it. For Ospreys, it's going to be their second Drake of the game, and now we'll be able to see what kind of rift we have spawning.
Please be Infernal.
We gotta hope. Well, well, it's a little bit too much hot air here. Cloud Rift it is, and looks like the bot side of Chimp House just having to play a little bit safe with Hecarim hanging around.
I'm just going to say, I think that's a little bit too much hate towards Cloud Soul. I mean, look at Osprey's comp. You've got Cosmic Radiance, you've got Shockwaves, Onslaught of Shadows, and the Divine Judgment from Kayle. These are huge ultimates. You want those cooldowns.
You do want those cooldowns. Game one that looks so exciting. I wasn't going to argue with more cooldowns or, indeed, more explosive damage.
Does indeed, and now Shuriken just goes wide there and does allow Kayle the reset without any threat of the dive. No ignite, but there was, of course, the perfect execution, which might have been an interesting moment there.
And so far, it's been rather chill, you know. Only 3 kills in the first 12 minutes in Temporal. Are there any key critical objectives, any key moments where you think we'll start to see a surge in action?
So both teams off the Herald, and now that 4 minutes, it's less than 4 minutes to that next Cloud Dragon. Gabscool probably going to go over towards that. I'd like to see them open up something before starting this. This is slightly risky. Remove Zhonya's has plenty of time to react here, call their lanes, manipulate the mid lane. This could be a point of contention in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, you can see Hecarim starting to think about roaming up, but there is no vision, and I wonder with Gabscool kind of going to get away with this one.
And one of the things to mention is even if he does get away with it, it won't be super huge for Chimp House because the tower plates are going to be dropping in 30 seconds time, and I don't know, Temporal. Is he going to be able to rush this up into a lane and, you know, get the full value of it?
Doesn't look like we're going for that speed run behind the top lane, although we are pushing out the mid lane. Shanklin Spear might have called for this. Might be looking at the jungler.
You can see who else is around, and Mr. Flankington looking for, well, his namesake, that's for sure. Over the wall goes Talon, but great use of the command. Distortion is top side. Divine Judgment comes through and saves the life, but that got close.
That was dead close. The Rift Herald summoned slightly late in the mid lane. Unfortunately, Gabscool just stood on the edge of the dissonance. So, we'll get the plate goal. I thought that wasn't coming through.
2 seconds to spare. Loads of time.
Not even close, right?
Not even close, baby.
Oh, boy. Here we
Teleport
go.
now on the top side in the Hecarim, looking to go in with the Onslaught of Shadows.
Does have it available, does exactly that. Does avoid the fear, though, does Akali, but stuck in the Shroud. Nowhere to go. And the ex-assassin from the Order, not of Shadows, but of the Kinko, still goes down all the same.
And even if that Akali has a Twilight Shroud up, Hecarim presses E, it's going to deal damage to anything around him, even if it is invisible.
All the members of Ospreys landing their skills that land through AoE. Kale's, wow, I forgot what Kale's Q's called. That's a thing.
Radiant Blast.
Radiant Blast. I didn't used to be a Kale one trick. And removes Anya, spinning the helicopter around. Will find the Akali punished, maybe for a little bit of overextension. We are seeing a lot of aggression, and while it has generated that 30 CS lead and an early Mythic, there is always a risk to playing up in your lane and trying to force an advantage.
Indeed there is, and outside of that initial great kill from Akali, the turnarounds have been good right now from Ospreys. Leaves us 2-2, leaves with a gold that's pretty much even with the Herald going and getting those plates in mid. And it's starting to look a bit interesting, especially with the Dragon stacking going Ospreys' way.
Ospreys are coming back into this one pretty reasonably. We did see Chimp House force those early advantages, those kills, particularly in the top lane, and now we're starting to see that equilibrium come about.
Charm lands, Cassiopeia is dazzled and stunned, and that's not a bad petrifying gaze, though, along with the miasma.
Talon's
Spirit
roaming
Blossom's
down
going to come
here.
as well. There is the talent, there's the Alistair, it's going to get tricky. Hepper, pulverized with the Cosmic Radiance! It saves the line, he's got it too deep, that's not good diplomacy! The diplomatic relations are horribly short, and there was more than 2 of them. They should have learned from Star Wars.
One more, Mr. Flankington will just be saved by Cassiopeia. Bossman strict on getting his support out of there. Such a tight backwards and forwards. Both these teams taking this so seriously. Cooldowns burn. Bossman just saving their life. And then the Gram gets that Cosmic Radiance through. That's a filter you can't do anything about.
Big engage coming through in the bottom lane. That Onslaught of Shadows was massive.
And 2 more fall just as soon as you like. There was no way to save them that time, and the overextension continues. You aren't safe under your tower, that's for sure. Quinoa might be in a spot of bother here, but I think with the command attack and phase rush available, not enough to catch him.
And I really want to praise Ospreys on 2 different accounts. One was almost a bait of Chimp House in, knowing that they've got the Cosmic Radiance, turning it absolutely beautifully. And then after that, knowing, hey, Cassiopeia doesn't have the Petrifying Gaze. She doesn't have the Miasma. Let's just dive them under tower.
It's the hard checking. It's the thing that we look for, or I look for especially when I want to see League of Legends players improve, or I want to see a high quality game, is this feeling backwards and forwards, the checking of your opponent's cooldowns, then using your own respectfully and in the correct style.
Well, remove Zhonya's is certainly feeling a little less than respectful right now. Divine Sunder is in, 3-0-1, and I think he would love to just go storming in here. Better not be a charge of the Light Brigade, though, because everybody's around. It could get very messy very quickly.
Very messy, very quick. Chimp House relenting slightly here. Will be spotted out on the far side.
Well, Mumu yet to use the ultimate, though. 1 bandage toss could be everything. Teleport's now coming through. This looks like the fight.
Yeah, I'm just keeping in. That's bandage toss coming in, and that's going to be a 3-man sum, but is it
Wait,
enough?
what? All the while, though, Kale gets a hold of Akali and removes Zhonya's, gets the
Talon coming
Cassiopeia.
in from behind. He's looking to get the damage on to the Hecarim. Mumu running for his life.
Double kill straight over to remove Zhonya's. They're going to move right back to the Dragon. 5-0-1 now. 8 kills to 3. It'll be 3 dragons to none. Osprey's starting to run away with this game.
Ospreys are snowballing out of control right now. They've got pretty much a 2K, well actually, sorry, that's almost a 4K lead. They're taking everything off the map.
They go onto Soul Point and will look to accelerate through this game. The Hecarim in prime position to carry them through to a victory against Chimp House. They will break the mid T1. This gives them the eastern quadrant of the map. How they play around this in the next few minutes and go for some deep vision, make some educated guesses, will determine the next 5 minutes.
their second tower of the game. But something that I really do want to point out in that fight is I like what Dr. Shankinspear was doing. He was trying to wait, stay in the shadows, waiting for that Cosmic Radiance to be used, wait for the invulnerability to disappear, and then dive into the fights. But sadly, it was just a little bit too late to the fight.
Unfortunately so, and that leaves us with a very significant advantage now for Ospreys. And if my E was up, better hope that ability is up, because he's going to need more than a Shuriken flip. I think there's no flash, he's going to go straight in. But the Dazzle into the Everfrost, and big power drops him.
Mwah! That was so beautiful from Ospreys. They locked down the Akali instantly. And if you're locked down, you can't pull off any of the fancy footwork.
Just does not miss with these shots time and time again. The Graham is on point.
Well, that one was definitely worth the Kodak moment. And, Shockwave on 2! Now Casimir's in trouble. Yes, come on, Ezra's there, but that, Sonya's keeps him alive. Talon can't find it all. Cosmic Radiance pops in. Quinoa gets a hold of boss. Bad Jones. It's a killing spree for Kale. And she's still firing with those spell blades.
Chimp House gets such a good engage, but it doesn't matter. They just don't have the damage. They can't seem to touch Ospreys. Throughout that fight, the only person who took any damage was Big Power, but he's able to stay alive with the Divine Judgment.
Why go invulnerable once when you can go invulnerable twice? Ospreys, this is clearly something they've practiced, something they're familiar with. The double invulnerable plays through the team fight. They put themselves in such a fantastic position to play through the team fight, and it looks oh so good.
And what a way to make the lives of Talon, of Akali so hard. They go diving in, burn those big ticket ultimates, and there's a Zonya's, and there's a Cosmic Radiance. Oh, and there's a Divine Judgment just to make sure. And if you try to get one person, yeah, you might finally get them after you burn every single damn ultimate, but you've still got to think about the Orianna and the stupidly fed Hecarim and the Kale. Like, it's getting really, really difficult for Chimp House.
And, I mean, when we talk about cheese compositions, we usually talk about stuff like Shaco.
Sure.
You know, we've been seeing that in competitive play earlier on today. But we don't really talk about, you know, quadra invulnerability, or however much invulnerability Ospreys has, and it's really catching Chimp House out, because Chimp House need to play these slow fights, draw out those ultimates before going back in. But when you've got the likes of a Talon and Akali, you want to be going in as quickly as possible and getting that kill ASAP.
Speaking to this quadra threat composition, Ospreys able to realize that when you are in that winning position, you need to use all 4 pieces to make it an absolutely one fight. They come forwards again. They're going to contest this vision on the top side. We should look to see them slowly walk towards this Cloud Dragon and try and find a fight where Chimp House try and get away with something they maybe shouldn't be able to. It's going to be a weird one in the next few minutes. They come barreling down the mid lane. There aren't enough members to clear the wave on the next one.
Mumu spotted out there by the command attack and dissonance from Quinoa. Of about 6,000 or so gold right now. The Ospreys very commandingly in the lead. You can see it in the items. It was the AD Kale. We kind of mentioned it earlier, but I do think it's worth reminding here. It's not a full AP comp, but 2 items complete on the Hecarim as well. He's very much an AD threat with that Black Cleaver and the Divine Sunderer as well. Chimp House need to find the mother of all combos, get that Amumu ult, layered up with a Talon ult, or it's going to get incredibly difficult to try and find anything resembling a good fight.
But anything at all, with the Everfrost coming through, so to balance the AD threats that you could probably get away with the Hecarim on your own, it does so much damage at this stage. We see 2 different mage items here. Nothing completed for Quinoa in the middle. It will be the Lunes to clear the wave in my head. And Kunai will have the Everfrost. We have the best of both worlds for AD and AP in this game.
The other thing that we have to mention as well is not just about Chimp House being able to find these engages. We've seen them find the engages. The issue is if you try to find the engages when all of Ospreys are around, eventually they just call the ultimates, and now, Quinoa, where are you going to go?
That was a nice little flank. If my E was up, pulling a bit of an assassin, sneaky moves, gets into the lane, and it's just going to be a runaway. Going to try and execute, I think, but a flash, a headbutt, a pulverize, and the E comes out, that Shuriken flip into the stun there. Looks like it's going to be, I think Alistair gets this kill, unfortunately. No, surely not. What is this mess? There's a shockwave to try and buy time. Just need to try and space for the execute.
Amumu's resetting, trying to get it. Amumu's coming.
Just get on the fountain and execute already, Quinoa.
Oh, beautiful.
Execute. Oh. That is salt in the wound, and what a wound
but
it is.
But look at this. It's bought so much time for Ospreys. Now they're going to be looking towards the Drake.
Cloud Dragon is available. They have bought enough time. All members of Chimp House having to be under their own tier 3 right now. And that was tasty. Would you say?
They're going to have to turn the camera. Oh, good lord, never mind that. I'm going to talk about the fight instead. As Kunai just deleted. That's a little bit of juicy vengeance over the back now. Keep your eyes on Talon. Going to try and hunt for something. Anything in.
The Hecarim is low.
For the steal, but not quite. Now they're going to try and get something over the wall. Into the waiting waiting on to Talon. Flash forward, trying to get something, but he leaps over the wall. He throws the Ignite down. He's going to try and get that shut down as well.
Meanwhile, fight happening on in the river. This is 4 members of Chimp House, and slowly the Talon's going to be making his way down as well. But the Taric able to run out to safety, but this Kale in a tricky situation, a similar situation to what their mid laner was in.
Might have to think about it. Could try and turn this around on if Mighty was up, but look who else is around. It's the Cassiopeia. Ain't gonna matter. Shutdown for Akali. That's 3 big ticket shutdowns, even if they did get the Drake.
Yeah, and for Ospreys, they secure that Drake. They have that Cloud, so we talked about, you know, how big the ultimates are for Ospreys, and now they've got 20% cooldown reduction on them.
In addition to that cooldown reduction, the synergy with the move speed, nearly every single member on the Ospreys wants to go fast after they cast this ultimate. We want to see repositioning from Kale. We want to see repositioning from Hecarim. We want Quinoa to stay safe on this Orianna. That's an extra phase rush they were not expecting. Kunai has to move around while using theirs, and Taric being able to include all of the members of the team in that Cosmic Radiance, that is 5 out of 5 for synergy.
Really is. Gotta say, though, that's 2,000 plus gold now in shutdowns. Laura, that went on to some fairly scary members. That's onto a Talon. That's now a 4-kill Akali. Yeah, there's 4 deaths in there, but there's 2 items now complete. The Zhonya's is in. This maybe starts to get a little bit like there's a way back in here for Chimp House, even if, you know, Osprey's still in a significant advantage.
You can't remove that Zhonya's. It's on the scoreboard.
Oh, don't start.
And let's not forget, for Chimp House, they are the team that have been making, you know, picking up the headlines as well. I'm going to hold that thought.
Going to try and get over. The stun lands. Going to try and get something more. That Everfrost was surely on target. Going to feel a bit robbed there as Kunai. That lead, he looked perfect, but a worthy escape from Talon, and Baron's being started.
And this is by Chimp House. They're down in gold. Orianna making her way down, and she has that shockwave available.
Keep your eyes on Kale as well. Look at the level. She's ascended into the onslaught challenge, but the turnaround with that huge curse of the Sand Mummy. Now they're going to try and stay alive, but remove. Zhonya's gets on the Talon doesn't get the execute. Doesn't get the execute. Stun from the Dazzle, but as Zhonya's from Mighty, somebody's going to have to hope it stands.
And despite the fight being dragged out, Ospreys are able to hold on. They hold on to their health bars while Chimp House slowly lose their health. And now the Talon caught out as well, and charmed and taken down. The ace comes in.
Big power with a deep flank was the biggest answer there. A close fight. Sans the Kale means that when she does arrive in this powerful form, mythic ready, true damage loaded, she shows up. She is the difference, and it just lets the Gram set up. Multiple kills come through. The Baron over to Ospreys. They're in a commanding position right now.
It might not be the 7th trumpets, but Kale will do the best with all those wings. Comes in and starts flying with all the swords. Definitely looking a bit scary. Now the Baron's on as well. It's 17 kills to 6. Maybe there was a little bit of a spark for Chimp House, but it is quickly snuffed out in that fight.
And for Chimp House, it was just, you know, so often we say not taking the right step. They got a pick, they want a fight, and then they think, okay, we can do Baron. No, you can't. You know, there's still 5 members of Ospreys up. You can't risk it doing that.
It's a little, it's a case of just a little too much, a little too soon.
Oh, this is a good pick from Amumu. Can't go in any further. Doesn't have the ult available.
Yeah. Unfortunately, much like the ancient Egyptians, it's just a long time to go before that ult's available. Still on cooldown. Still just doesn't have the amount of CDR needed yet.
Not quite, not quite. We've seen this momentum shift twice now. Chimp House take a lead, take a little fight, take something from somewhere. Ospreys coolly and calmly manage to turn it around. They take a minute or two, they come in where they need to, they come in where Chimp House may be trying to go a little too fast, a little too far. This is the sort of thing we want to see over a series. This is going to go for a while, and it's a huge boon for Ospreys.
And for Ospreys, it feels like a near clinical game from them. The only mistake they made, to me, feels like that fight over the 4th Drake. But they got the Drake, so arguably, that was success for them as well.
It was more middling, for sure.
It wasn't a straight-up loss. Yeah.
Chimp House coming out with the big takedowns, I think, does shift it over. But you're right, it's more of a like 70-30 than 99-1.
Yeah. And that is perhaps the best that Chimp House could ask for at the minute. It's been a bit rough since a lot of these ultimates came online, since the bot lane dive in particular, I think, is what I'm turning my mind back to, where things really started breaking a little bit. Now you can sort of see the visions getting a bit lax. You can see Ari and Taric starting to try and chain all this CC together, and when you compare all that lockdown with all of this invulnerability, it's getting increasingly dire if it wasn't there already.
More and more difficult as time goes on. next fight will largely be a test of how far Ospreys can push their newly acquired power.
Oh, that's a charm onto Amima, but not the most damage, and now Akali and Talon on the
flanks coming in.
Quinoa does survive for now, just about to get the diver, but in goes the Akali. He gets the kill. Divine Judgments come out, but they're trying to stay alive. It's a bit of a split one. Akali uses the second on the perfect execution to stay alive, but it's massively split. Big power against the Akali, and there's just too much gold, Milky.
There is, but the Hecarim takes a one at tower shot. Is he able to pick up the kill when it's going to be the double kill for the Gale? Now flashing in under tower, but no more kills for Ospreys. Overall, it's 3 kills for 1 Temporal.
They managed to find the pick, starting up on Gab's call, drawing all of his teammates in. The deep flank from If My E was not quite working out perfectly. They take Quinoa off the board, but the E wasn't up when they needed it the most. Removes Zonya's plays through the fight, and it keeps pushing their team to victory. Kunai showing up on this Ahri, a pick we weren't expecting, and it's working out really well, able to pick off valuable targets.
It's not even just Quinoa though, is it? Look at the Hecarim. It's been a wonderful game from Remove Zombies. 8-1 and 8 on that champ. You look at the top lane, the Kale, after a bit of a tempestuous early lane, manages to come back with a few kills of their own. Now 7-3 and 4. Now very swiftly approaching that level 16, and the bridge of, the part, something of no return. I forget how that phrase goes. The point stands.
The path of no return.
That'll work. The Elder Dragon goes down as well, and Milky saves me from my own fumbles.
The Elder Drake of no returns are potentially for Chimhouse.
Chimhouse maybe respecting a little too much there. I would have liked to have seen a teleport down onto the ward, some interference. The Elder is going to be really difficult. They have some wave clear on this composition, but it is all conditional. It's not that great into something like a Baron in the 2 minutes, so when that Elder is on the board, you've really got to do something about it.
I mean, at least you did mention that, though. Like, Elder's not up for 2 minutes, so you're not going to have the dual Elder and Baron buff, that double Uber buff, which would really have been death. Now, if you can just not fight for the next 2 minutes, you have got at least a way to hold on, because with the gold, with everything else, it's so challenging.
Now, you say, if you can not fight, but look at Osprey. You've got Onslaught of Shadows, you've got the Spirit Rush in, the invulnerability. You can't stop Ospreys from engaging.
They're locked out of their own base. They're locked out.
They went to try and think about setting up towards the Baron. It's going to cost them at least an inhibitor.
I think not with a bang, but with an unfortunate sigh. The Ospreys are in, the Elder Dragon is on, the towers are burning.
That's an Everfrost. That'll be a flash petrifying gaze. It doesn't stun anybody. The Onslaught Shadow goes under. But that is going to be a massive Cosmic Radiance. They're going to try and get something. It's still not going to be enough. Temporal had the right of it. It's not a bang. It's a whimper from the Chimhouse, and Ospreys claim game 1 in emphatic fashion.
The only loss there, Quinoa to the Nexus pool tower. Unfortunately locked out of their own base. They go a little too far, and Ospreys will finish off game 1.
A clean game from Ospreys. It has to be said, practically no mistakes from them, and in all honesty, I'm super impressed by how Ospreys, they've approached this game. We said both teams, they've come into this game, picking up some rather crazy picks.
Yeah.
And Ospreys, they've made it work, and they've looked calm and collected as well.
Yeah, I mean, we came out of that initial champ stage thinking, what's a proxy here? What's not? It was Cassiopeia Ahri bot. It really worked out for the Ospreys, a little bit of madness. And yes, it was some interesting things in the early game. You saw like Akali getting that good early kill, and maybe started these things fall apart. But then you sort of saw a little bit of how that comp was supposed to work from Ospreys. So much invulnerability, so much ability to just keep going forwards, and it just wasn't enough answers, at least this time, from Chimhouse.
Fantastically, and when you do weird things in League of Legends, it also comes down to the, are you going to actually execute on this like crazy idea here, or are you just going to like present it to the world? Maybe it'll fall flat, who knows? See that even up at top tier 1 play.
I know.
And to execute on it so well, to know your own spikes, to be one as a unit, is really strong. We've got to see something special from Chimhouse. We do. Because the Ospreys look really strong today.
I want to throw in a point here, which was, coming into this, we thought, okay, Kunai on the Samira. Insanity, right?
Yeah.
And it was the Samira-Taric duo that we saw in the semi-finals, and we thought, okay, this Samira is pretty good. Surely it gets banned. But it's turned out that actually it's kind of the Taric that is the focus. So, I mean, Temporal. For Chimhouse, what do they ban away from Ospreys?
I think their response needs to be twofold. They need to decide which of these team fight compositions they need to not play against, because no doubt they'll have seen that montage semi-final filled with the Samiras, filled with the Taric. You've got to choose some pieces because you can't get rid of all of it. This style is split across so many champions, so many different ways. Attacking the Taric is pretty archetypal because, as we saw, double invulnerability is on the table. And it looked pretty good. So that's probably where I would go. You need to not only address the Taric, but maybe pick something that doesn't let them do the same thing anyway.
And I think with that, we've got some, well, here are some replays from that game. Initialize, why don't you take us through this first one?
And this is looking like way back to that first semi-finals. The Caitlyn did dumb things, it turns out, in Division 2's final. Arc Serpent, just pretty damn terrifying this game. What the KDA just saw throughout the whole game. Caitlyn just nuts the champion.
Yeah, really impressive game in that game one from the Caitlyn, and, well, wasn't quite able to do it in the second game, but then was able to do it in the third game, as I think we might have just had the wrong replay.
I mean, it's fine. I enjoyed it. It was just not the same game.
It was a good game.
I think those were at Division 2 finals.
They were indeed. That was Division 2 game one.
Really great playing the bot lane. That was
fun.
something we all went ooh at when we saw it for the first time. The Caitlyn really diving towers. And,
I'm sorry about that one, Sam. I thought we had a replay. I was like, what are you taking through?
I was ready. The moment I saw the Caitlyn, I was like, I know this game. It wasn't our finals.
It's a good thing we watched the Division 2 finals, right?
Like, as soon as I saw the Caitlyn nameplate's off, I knew what that was going to be. That was a standout.
I know.
As soon as Sam said this, said player name, I was like, you got a good job on that one.
I'm prepped. What can I say? Professional, I tell you.
Yeah. I'm interested. Wait, no, let's play a guessing game because production told us the replays are on the way.
Right.
Which bit would you want to see of that first game?
Ooh.
I would love to see probably the bot lane dive because I think that's where everything kind of broke. At that point, the snowball just got a little bit untenable, but that after they tried to dive and it didn't work out and they returned the favor just 10 seconds later, I think that was probably the moment.
I would also like to see the 1v1 play in the top lane.
Yeah,
because
that's some fun
there
stuff.
were a lot of abilities.
Milky.
There were a lot of abilities thrown in a very short space of time, and I didn't quite see. I just saw a health bar kind of
disappear,
flash and then stay and then disappear again.
I'm just saying, you're a Leona player, and like, why are you in it? You're still after the 1v1s. That feels like antithetical to who you are as a person, at least within the League of Legends
It's
space.
because I am a Leona player. I don't get to experience
so
the
it's just
1v1.
vicarious enjoying it through somebody else. I see.
Exactly.
It's part and part, right? When Leona does lock someone down, that's normally what happens next. It's like,
Okay.
stop.
But it's
Exactly.
not, okay, fine. I'll give this one over. I'm not going to fight this one. It's not a good idea.
You haven't seen my Tristana pre-mate in solo queue.
Stop. I don't want to think about that.
I'd like to see the Baron play over again.
Okay. That was actually a very important point because it was one where Chimphouse got a little bit too aggressive, but that being said, well, the only thing better than replays is maybe a brand new game because we're heading on in for game 2. Chimphouse on the blue side, Ospreys over on the red.
And that conversation we've just been having, do we leave the Taric open? The answer is no. First ban, never again. It's off the table, and I cannot blame them.
Not even debating it. Straight off the table.
Now, something that I do want to bring up is the cheese that we saw from Ospreys with, the invulnerability. We expected that Ospreys, they had some cheese available to them. We weren't sure whether they were going to use it, but that wasn't the cheese. There was a different cheese, and by that I'm talking about the Lux Swain Temporal.
Indeed. Can it be cheese after you've got so many fantastic flavors all along the same lines? I don't know.
I quite like cheese. I'm happy to see it, especially if it's rich and flavorful, and that's the idea, right? You bring it in and it's there to catch people off guard as a bit of a palate cleanser from what you normally have. And
cheesy cereal, anyone?
Oh, please, just out of here. All right, enough of that. Kale, final ban by Ospreys. Interestingly, don't want to run that back themselves. The Misfortune's still off the table, and we've got a first pick available. Still got the Akali, which they favored. Thinking about some other things here.
Thinking about some other things. They can maybe take a moment here, Chimphouse. They don't want to lock themselves out. Most interestingly, that Misfortune has moved from the second phase to the first phase. So Chimphouse expecting bot lane locked in early here for the Ospreys.
Response here possibly of the Morgana. It has been seen as a counter pick to Thresh in ages past, but more recently as well, has kind of been flexible to the jungle, though that's kind of been nerfed a little.
And I've just realized production have been hard smurfing. They showed us a replay of the semi-finals where Morgana was playing. I think production were giving us a little insight as to what might be coming.
A lot of them. There you go. Well, that was well rescued, by the way, Moki. They owe you at least a pat on the back after this one. Now for this next pick to think about. The Kiana, remember, was banned out last time. It's going to be locked in. That is the sacrifice to allow the Taric to be banned. And if it was bannable the first time, it's time to see what the Quinoa can flex on it this time.
It goes that bit further, right? This is a huge gauntlet here, and it's going to be a question whether Chimp House can answer it. Just locking in your mid, completely blind, assassin player for Ospreys just goes that bit further. We do see Gabs' Mundo come through. This is his favorite champion. And if we're going to see something cute come out of this rework on a player with such a high win rate, 76% as at the time of Milky Cereal's stat collecting mission. So looking for impressive performances on these players who have managed to get their favorite champions through the draft and keep it all organized so far.
It's double enchanter here with the Karma locked in alongside the Morgana. You can pair that up with the Kiana going in. It's going to be quite difficult to stop her. No CCing someone with a black shield. You add in the speed as well of a Defiance. And yes, Ezreal can run away, but he's going to have to run pretty damn far or he could get caught up here. Very safe bot lane locked in response, as we said, though. That fresh Ezreal, about as safe as you get down towards that bot side. And
Temporal, I just want to throw quickly to the Mondo because how do you play against the Mondo now that there is that new passive and you can't really lock him down?
The tenacity and break of CC goes even further for Mundo post rework. It goes quite difficult. We did see multiple addresses from the Riot Balance team towards the new Mundo. He wasn't as successful in the jungle as he was in a lane, which is sort of the opposite to what we saw pre-rework Mundo. So this patch actually brought quite a lot of sustain. Mundo now just doesn't spend any health when he attacks monsters. So, of course, when you add on your healing, so you're healing for like 110%, you start to regenerate your health very quickly. If Mundo can commit to a lane, especially even through a Morgana, maybe take a disfavorable trade, then go and heal up to full from like 10% on a single camp, come back and do it again. I think we're going to see.
So excited to see this.
We're going to see Gabschool go through some interesting patterns of play that maybe we haven't seen before.
This is something that the side of Remove Zhonya's has put a bit of time into in solo queue. They ban out a couple of Divine Sunderer junglers, no Hecarim, no Volley Bear, goes down towards the Kayn. It's another one of those scaling champions for the side of the Ospreys. But the thing with Kayn, you know, if you can get some of those juicy orbs early, the earlier you get that transformation, the scarier it can be. But Gwen gets all the way through, locked in now, probably going towards that top side.
And if my E was up, he plays a Gwen. But I want to go back to that Kayn mention because, again, when we were doing our prep and we looked at Remove Zhonya's, we know that he likes to play these kind of carry, these pop-off junglers, the Yi, the Evelyn, the Kayn, the Kha'Zix. And we saw the Hecarim in the previous game. He popped off on the Hecarim, so I am scared to see what he could possibly do on the Kayn.
So I'm pretty excited because Kayn, another explosive champion that, you know, has these really stylish performances. We do see the Gnar hover. I'm mixed efficacy on this towards Gwen, but it will be whatever Big Power wants to play in this matchup. And somehow, if my E was up, has picked another champion that has a dash on E.
Oh no!
That's 100% today. Oh, no. Good job, buddy. That is.
Oh boy! All right,
that is some dedication.
Skip and slash, and I wish to skip this pun from Temporal. That was atrocious. Yasuo locked in though for the mid lane here as well, so that's going to be something for Dr. Shinkinspear to try. Shinkinspear. What am I doing? I just messed up the name.
Doctor.
That's not good. The Doctor, indeed.
Too poetic.
You know, at the moment I judge Temporal for his phrasing. I messed that one up instead. It does sound like we might have some proper replays coming through, though, courtesy of production. So looking forward to hearing from these.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we hedged our bets? So
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Well, we're going to see some more replays at the end of the series as well. Gentlemen, very quickly, who do you favor right now? Snap.
Ospreys.
Yeah, I think so. Even if it is another one of those ones where no AD carry again.
I was actually going to bring up, you know, the fact that when you look over to Osprey's composition, there is no range. I mean, at least Chimp House have some range, but Ospreys don't.
Karma and Gnar in mini-full. Basically.
Yeah,
I mean, Morgana as well to an extent. Yeah, so yeah, those could be a risk. It does sound like we've got those replays coming up as well, which see whether those bets have been well placed, lads.
All right. Okay, we have the dragon fight. So we have Ospreys coming in here. Remember, they are the blue side. The steal attempt is there, and the Ospreys will eventually fall Gab's flashing to attempt that one. Shankin Spear does a little bit of high jumping to try and lock this Hecarim down. This is the start of the second comeback for Chimp House. They try and generate a bit of advantage. Doesn't quite work out in the longer game here, but they do manage a clean contest onto an already started objective.
And it was both times, you know, as well. Both times Chimp House, you know, won these fights. It was at the cost of the Drake, so they weren't able to secure those objectives. And you can't really fault Gab's call as here's that important Baron play.
Yeah.
The most important thing here, notice Taran exit stage at the back, and that onslaught of shadows coming through. The Gram is saving everyone where it matters most, where they might end up tanking Baron, where things get more and more difficult. Even though the talent ultimate comes through and sticks Quinoa out of the fight, Big Power has arrived. The cavalry well and truly in position.
I mean, I've also got to call that out, you know, that was a one-man Curse the Sad Mummy, unfortunately. It wasn't a big multi-man one. Then you look at the side, like, huge onslaught of shadow, 3-man shockwave, the Cosmic Radiance saved so many lives. Like, just the efficacy of these multi-man ultimates, just a little bit higher there from Ospreys. And it was already a long way behind, don't get me wrong, but you needed a big wombo combo to try and turn it around. That wasn't it.
Yeah, wasn't it? It's sometimes tough, right? Because sometimes you need to use it on one person to save another carry. It means your opponent have successfully set conditions on you. This is the last team fight. We noticed Kunai up here already making great use on the Ahri. Onslaught of Shadows comes in to back up. Mighty was up, does succeed in the back to pick up Quinoa, but the ultimate sort of leaves them in a rough place and out of position into a Hecarim that was up on the T3 and able to multi-man fight. This is the last fight where Chimp House, unfortunately locked out of the base, do allow Ospreys in front and center.
And with those engages that we saw, you know, Dr. Shankin Spear, great positioning, but those kind of engages needed to be able to find the kills, and, you know, he did everything right. It was just quite literally didn't have enough items.
And that literally is, you saw, like, Talon goes through, pulls the whole and doesn't get the execute. And like that's just gold difference. That's just the weight of gold. You can buy a lot more stats and all the rest of it, and levels and experience. And Elder Dragon as well. You saw the execute in the fountain. It's just a little bit too late. It's just a little bit too much.
The most beautiful thing in that fight, ignoring all of the executes and tower dives, the multi-man petrifying gaze dodge out of Osprey. They all turn in sequence away from the Cassiopeia. It looks so stylish when one person does it. When you've got 4 people playing edge of range, all playing face, like turning around quickly, petrifying gaze turning you to stone if you see it, slowing you mildly if you've got your back to it. Just seeing multiple people say, actually, not today, Cassiopeia. We're having your Nexus.
It's Bruno Mars on the Rift everywhere, just making those face turns count. Some beautiful dance moves on the Rift, and Cassiopeia just can't hold them in place.
Not for long enough. We'll have to see if this different composition from Chimp House offers them a little more success. We are loading in to the game. We'll be there in not too long.
Now, I want to go back to, you know, not Bruno Mars. Although
Bruno Mars is pretty good.
No, in all fairness, I do like some Bruno Mars myself. I think my brother is a massive fan of Bruno Mars as well.
I'll catch a grenade for you.
Oh,
very good.
Wait, are you talking to me or initialized? I'm trying to remember.
He's a bit nuts. Would you do that? Who does that? Really? I just wouldn't have a grenade.
No, but here's the thing: we can't do it from that way. The song actually makes sense from him.
That's true.
Yeah, but we wouldn't do the same, right? So there we go. Okay, but we have a draft up now. We have a game starting as well.
More important from draft, we have a vision trade.
We have a vision. Wow.
So
that's the most exciting thing I've heard.
Well, explain why this is exciting.
Mundo, especially pre-rework, could start pretty much anywhere in the jungle. One of the few champions who could get away with it truly. Stuff like the Lilia could start in a bunch of places. Mundo could just start anywhere. Most effective was chickens. So without that information, the Gram goes in, takes a picture of the Raptors, and notices Gabs will not be starting this. That's a little bit more information over to the Ospreys. Try and get their solo lanes. That information so they know when they can play aggressive, try and trade with their opponents without the risk of Dr. Mundo coming straight in.
Absolutely, and it's another one of those interesting matches. It's a much more standard draft from Chimp House, I think, this time. More importantly, there's an neutral AD carry in the bot side. It's another one of those slightly stranger ones. It's not the first time we've seen Karma bot. I think any old-school Reckless fans will recognize and hate it, but it's been there once or twice. Karma Morgana's a lot of poke there from the queues, at least.
A lot of like planning from Ospreys on this one. So it's another composition. Notice the traded ward onto the chickens. We'll notice removes on your starting position, where they've packed the AD into the middle of the map. Their jungler here, once again, AD threat, and they've put it on mid lane instead of top this time. So they are still balancing their composition despite putting no AD damage at this bottom lane.
And I do like the fact that you've got this Morgana, you've got the movement speed from the Karma, because one of the things I did want to get to was engage potential in the fights. And while Ospreys, they don't have any, they don't have a Malphite ult or an Orianna ult, they do have that Karma speed up. You can put a Black Shield on top, and then the Gnar can just run in, get his ult off, and same for the Qiyana. But when you look over to Chimp House, they don't really have any great engage tools.
Kane's already found somebody here, starting the Blade reach and trying to catch up as much as he can with the Reaping Slash. It's a decent Q, but you can only snip so many times, and Kane just trying to catch up, but not quite enough. Mundo, businessman that he is, sees an investment worth saving.
Removes Zonya's fantastic patience. I would have flashed there and died for it. I don't know about you guys.
I definitely would have. I know what kind of juggler I am. No shame.
Gab's cool, just on position. Mighty was up again. Fantastic patience. Not wanting to turn around, not wanting to try and get a few more Conqueror auto attacks in there. The risk too great. Ospreys managed to put a lot of pressure onto this top side. It will alleviate that CS differential and give Big Power the ability to choose where this wave is going. Moves Zonya's should try and continue to try these fights. The way you deal with Kane in this composition from Chimp House's perspective is that you do not fight. You respect his ganks, you lose 3-4 CS the time he comes in. That's fine. Give him no stacks, and at 25 minutes, he's still not a real champion.
And remove Zonya's being able to get the top side scuttle grab. He's going to work his way down, and he's going to be able to get the double scuttle as well on Gab's call.
Does have the priority to allow that. Mundo is in mid lane. He's got a great shuffle on this skin. I really enjoy the swagger, but it's not going to matter too much. Blade of Ixtal all stacked up there for Qiyana. Maybe look for something, but it's just, yes, the wave shoves in for Yasuo, but double scuttle's pretty great for Kane, all things said and done.
Now, because he hasn't cleared his other side, we still do see the CS even. That will accelerate with Kane grabbing a bit more.
Ooh, good Black Shield.
Fantastic Black Shield. The Graham straight on point. I'm going to come up with a better pun in a minute, but we're just going to keep going.
I mean, it's the obvious one. We love it.
It's just so easy.
It's a great filter. Stops the hook, breaks it up. It's... No? Okay, moving on.
That's all right, that's all right.
I tried.
Okay. Let's talk about delayed jungle pathing, because this doesn't happen very often. I feel the need to educate the masses.
Please educate your cast, because I don't know.
That's
great.
I mean, we are part of the masses, right?
Probably, unfortunately.
Neither of these junglers can really go for the early dragon and just sacrifice everything. Gabs could on the Mundo, however, it comes with extra conditions. His lanes won't be able to stabilize, particularly this mid where Qiyana can really take it to Yasuo in the 1v1. Remember, this Yasuo was picked into it. So this is Chimp House saying, actually, we want this more than you want that. Bit unusual. Trading is coming through.
Both of these players trying to get as much trading as they can there, but not going to find too much to be said. But the early shove from Karma and Morgana certainly pretty good versus single target Ezreal.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, that one kind of form of engage potential that Chimp House have, we've seen just easily negated by the Black Shield.
All right, let's go back to that delayed jungle pathing, because we're
Finally,
seeing an extension. We're seeing an extension. So Gabs couldn't really go for the solo dragon, nor should he. He'd have fallen too far behind a Kane that is getting funneled with golden experience.
Swagamundo gets the slow. Where is the Qiyana going to go?
Trying to make her way out. Some nice plays. Audacious, you might say, considering the champion. And going to get their way out with some fancy footwork.
Oh, so stylish. Chimp House not respecting the vision. They know the bottom side roamed up. If Ospreys was slightly more on the ball, they could have found them in mid there. Then gone for the dragon. The last breath comes in.
It's the last breath, but the edge of Ixtal means that they can walk that edge just fine.
Qiyana's walked out of these twice. Just like casual walk on, walk off. Like, oh, you're throwing things at me. I'm going to dash towards my tower, and that will be a waste of time.
Well, cooldown's done. You might finally, Temporal, be able to talk about this delayed jungle pathing that apparently was a thing 20 seconds ago.
Attempt 3?
Attempt
No
3.
one's died. This is what's happened.
Okay. The Kane has the option after full clearing their jungle, leaving their blue buff up until they've cleared their jungle, they've taken both crabs, they've ganked. And that means that on that first base, they can get even more. Notice the Iron Spike whip comes through. Unless you're successful with your first gank or do this extended path, you can't afford that when you want to go back. On Kane, most junglers, 1,100 gold. A little bit too much. You normally go back about 9. And if you want that Balmy Cinder, or if you want that Iron Spike whip, which costs this much, conveniently enough, thank you, Riot Games, you need to do a little bit more. So fantastic work, particularly from Kunai and the Graham, to push up in that bottom lane, gain some priority, and they force their way onto the dragon at a time when Gabscool can't come in. And as we saw, they had to go mid there. That's not even a mistake to say, hey, Mundo's got to get into the lane. maybe with a bit more vision and respect, it would have worked out a little bit better, as Quinoa was able to walk on, walk off there. Gab's cool. This is a long wait. I'm going to keep talking because he's thinking about it. He's thinking about it.
He's definitely doing more than think about it. Oh, my days. That's a big knock on to Gwen, though. She misses the Q. It's a bit of a disaster flash away, and that will be a miss on the needlework as well. And I think he's going to try and make his way out.
Mundo's going for more, but he misses the briefcase, and now maybe the knock can even turn it because Kane is here, and Kane wants vengeance. The First blood comes in, but Gwen gets revenge. But surely Kane picks this one up with the Blade's Reach.
Going to do exactly that. Just goes for a Reaping Slash instead and sides them down. 2 for 1. Gwen at least gets something back. I think it's going to cost him quite a lot, though.
That was a terrible investment from Dr. Mundo. I'm not happy. No stonks here. Thank you very much. Most importantly, the Kane gets a whole bunch of red stacks on the passive. That champion is accelerating. He's got a CS lead, he's got a gold lead, he's got an XP lead, and soon he's going to have a champion design lead as we see Rast come through in the next few minutes.
Just before that play happened, I was going to talk about how it's been a very nice, calm game. No kills in the first 7 minutes. You know, we had some yeah, quite literally. But Osprey's now looking good. They're a little bit of gold up, which is where they want to be, but still, I mean, relatively even.
Relatively even. They don't need to accelerate too fast. Black Shield broken in this bottom lane. That's re-engaged.
That's not badly done, but there's a barrier and there's a shield alongside there. They're going to try and keep chasing them. Misses the Mystic shot. They're going to kind of try and chase if they can. Morgana's are very low. The Lantern comes in. Another hook, and there's no Black Shield this time. Almost flashes out, but not quite enough, and that's a great kill on the bot side for Chimp House.
Gabs reminds us that his investor stockbook is strong, shows up just in time to support his bottom lane.
Did he do anything, though?
Secure the deal. He secured the deal, Milky Cereal.
He secured the deal.
He secured the deal, and the grab falling slightly short. Not enough likes on that last post will fall away as Osprey's just, Chimp House level up and get the goal.
Was he just the guy in the investment who stands at the back and looks like menacing?
He nods.
Yeah.
My work here is done, but you didn't do anything.
My work here is done.
Okay, Quinoa going to get a little bit of a CS lead if they're able to get onto this wave in the mid lane. This is what we expect.
Starts shifting forwards, decent blades reach, and I'm not sure that's going to be the best wind wall ever. Going to start hopping forwards.
Mundo's here.
Umbral Trespass, though, trying to do their best to get the damage. The Reaping Slash claims another and removes Zonya's, making another kill happen there.
Sadly for Mundo, he thought he saw an investment opportunity and it all turned to smoke before he could arrive. You know, that's the equivalent of being told, right, we've got the perfect car to buy, come on over. By the time you get there, some other person has already turned up and bought it.
Honey, the bank's called. The investments have all gone bust. You're going to have to take a walk.
I'm saving... I'm saving a couple puns here. We don't want to blow them all before 15 minutes, guys. Come on, hold on. All right, 3 kills to 2. Looking like a pretty even game, though. A slight gold lead over to Ospreys of a few hundred or so. They've got the early Drake, and more importantly, they've got a Kane that's rolling. That is worth more than what's shown on the scoreboard.
He has just recalled, I believe that is transformation time.
Oh, boy.
Kane here. Production will have to confirm by hovering over, because there it goes. Look at him transform. That's 10 minutes on the transformation for this Rast. That is strong. It might not look big on the board. It might not be 5-0 immediately. That's dangerous.
And that's not a blue Kane. This Kane isn't looking to chill around. That's red. Fire in the eyes. Already 2-0. Remove Zonya's did so well in game 1, and he's doing the same on the Kane as now Mundo looks topside.
There's no flash. There's no way out. The ultimate is pop. Mundo takes the jacket off and beats him down in top lane. Ooh, not quite enough.
That's from the Ezreal.
Of course, it's on their side.
Supporting.
He walks back into the bush. You know, he's a hedge fund manager. It's just fine. He loves that kind of space.
It's traded away. Ospreys go to 2 dragons. What fantastic cross-map work to not panic when they see their top laner in danger. Yeah, Gab's cool on the Mundo, runs in. You know, his bank is bigger than the towers. He doesn't care.
And initialize, this is... Oh, actually, I'm going to hold that thought.
Flash in for an Edge of Exile into a supreme display of talent. And Kunai gets that one with a nice time roam from Quinoa. They get a little bit more, and the other side of the map continues to be a bit of a problem.
And we've got even more aggression. The Blade Reach going to be able to find the knock-up onto Yasuo. He uses the sweeping blade out to safety, but initialize. You hit the nail on the head in game 1. Ospreys calm and collected. And even there, when there's action happening on the top side, they do the perfect thing. Okay, fine. Our top lane is dead. We'll look towards the Drake, and they secure it. And then they pick up kills as well with a fantastic roll from Quinoa.
The gold is dead even. No turrets have gone down, but it is those 2 Drakes. It is a very early transformation on Kayn, who is half a champion before that transformation and a champion and a half after that one. And it's a strong choice, I think, into the lineup as well. The knockups, particularly versus things like the Mondo, that additional damage to tanks, really helpful here. Binding lands and could be looking for a bit more. Oh. Nicely placed death sentence.
Look at the Lantern, the Mondo's coming in, but the Thresh just can't follow up onto the Morgana in time. The Mondo swagging forward, not going to be able to land the briefcase, not going to be able to land the slow, and that will be all that she wrote in the bottom side of the map.
Nice attempt, didn't quite work out.
Both teams, again, this is what we look for with strong, confident League of Legends, pushing forwards, using cooldowns, checking their opponents, not committing where they don't need to. This is intelligent gameplay. This is something maybe I wasn't expecting to see today. This is high-level League of Legends, whether you like it or not.
Well, I was really impressed by how the Division 2 teams performed, and the Division 1 teams have taken it a step further. Game 1, clinical display from Ospreys. Both teams taking some spicy picks onto the Rift, and this Game 2, fantastic as well.
If my E was up, he's on the Gwen and does have the E at the skip. The Slash starts coming alongside the Hallowed Mist, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough to save them from the Kayn. Umbral Trespass comes through, trying to heal him. No way! Umbral Trespassers will be shot by the tower, but just about gets out in time.
There's a true shot barrage coming.
Oh my
days.
Going
to find the Snipe. If it hits either of them,
it's
that's
on.
the kill.
It's on.
No! He got it.
Should have read the side. It wasn't just the tower. He gets shot by the Ezreal as well.
He had the firing shot. You know, right now, this Ezreal is role-playing David Beckham. He did the previous true shot barrage, you know, just finding the angle, and this time round, it quite literally came home.
Oh, boy.
It's great when they bend it to just, you know, it just feels like it curves in. It's you see it every now and again in League of Legends. Like, yeah, that's a straight line, but oh, is it locked on?
Now, Quinoa's in a bit of a difficult position. Doesn't get really over the wall. Spell immune is Dr. Manux of that new passive. That was a nice attempt to get out with a supreme display of talent, but it's going to have to be a bit more than that to try and escape. Got to push.
Round 2 of the mid lane are trying to execute. Did someone order some action? The ignite, tick, tick. Down, Dr. Shankin Spear picks up the kill.
And all the while, Gab's cool, just heading over to that Rift Herald, and that's a couple good plays for Chip House, all things said and done.
All things done, said and done, they will pick up this Herald in time for that Dragon. We're on a Cloud Rift again, so expect not much changes from the way last late game was played. Rotations are a bit quicker, ultimate cooldowns a little bit faster.
This is beautiful stuff from Chimp House. After how Game 1 turned out for them, they're coming back with a bang. The Ezreal 2-0. They're tied neck and neck with Ospreys. They've been able to pick up the Rift Herald as well. Sadly, no tower plates available to them, but they'll be happy to take the Rift Herald nonetheless, with first tower still on the cards.
Keep your eyes out on that Dragon timer as well is what I want to go for. I think Temporal's looking like he has something to say as well here, so I'll pass it quickly.
We have Dragon up in a minute. Bot lane will be pivotal here, as both assassins are able to shove out in mid, or even if they are shoved in, negate that quite quickly, come back into the river. So a little bit of vision around there matters. What matters more is this Ezreal in the bottom lane. We've not spoken about him a lot. His opponent's a little bit more unique, as we see Mundo, just as we mentioned, shoving him in, dropping the Herald. Quinoa on this Kiana will be able to push this back. Zon is not quite in position. The Ezreal has his mythic item, he has his Sunderer, and that is the current most important damage spike. As we see the mid-tier 1 go down, Quinoa has engaged.
That's a lot of people around. Yasuo's still in play, trying to get out. Supreme display of talent, not going to quite work. Mundo is still going to be a danger now! What an engage!
And where does the Mundo go now? The Kayn on top is forced to dash out. The Mundo could potentially look to turn this as the Gwen slowly making their way down. Snip, snip goes the Gwen. Will it be enough? The Kayn able just to walk out.
Oh man, stitched up and cut down. How do you like that one, Kayn? Still going to keep going. This Gwen is pretty strong inside the Thunderdome. Hallowed Mist is there. And Kimo doesn't like it. Oh my days, that was dangerous now. But now, with all the cooldowns down, there's nothing left, surely.
Oh,
but look what's here. Mundo not going to have quite enough. The Cleavers land, but it's still going to finally be a little bit of a step down.
Beautifully done by the side of Ospreys. They dance around the Hallow's Mist. They bait out the abilities. And then once the mist drops, Quinoa says, my turn to get revenge for the jungler. But we have more and more actions. Neither side are giving a chance for us to breathe as Chimp House look towards the Drake.
Morgana is here, but there's just no junglers. I think it's just a Dragon over to Chimp House.
It is the 1v versus 1 trade from that initial fight, favoring Chimp House. Their top laner falls much, much later than Osprey's side. We're entering a bit of a lull state now. We're going to have to see sort of the teams try and create their own objectives here, a little bit of vision. We just see the T1 fall from Ospreys, and that will allow a little entry on the sides of the mid lane. Any further, and it could go completely the other way. the teams will have to sort of make their own fun for the next few minutes.
You talked about Ezreal getting that Divine Thunder before that fight. Well, he's now 2-0, having secured that kill onto Kane. He gets another one during all the kerfuffle there. It's maybe going to be a bit of a shut this down as down come a couple of roamers.
see this coming. They were on a ward.
The back, is it in time?
Just about.
Great escape, quite literally. Got some, I'm pretty sure that's Charles Dickens, right?
Oh, Supreme display of talent, and that's a dead Ezreal, surely looking for one last edge of Ixtal. Welcome to the jungle. That's a shutdown going the way of Quinoa, trying to get out now. Hops over the wall and is looking to get out of dodge. Clean stuff from the mid laner.
Great escape round 2. Gets in, gets out. No penalties for the Ospreys mid laner. Beautifully done from Quinoa. And Ospreys want more. Now they look towards the top side.
Here comes Kane.
Not close to that Mega Nut, but will be able to poke down from afar.
Does get a bit of healing, just Gwen there, but the Humble Trespass comes through one more time. One more Blaze Reach, one more Reaping Slash. And removes Zhonya's, removes Gwen from the Rift.
The E was not up this time,
Cut
I'm afraid. And Gwen, unfortunately, that is her main weakness. That's why we see a pretty low win rate on the champion, despite everyone's incredibly strong feelings about her as a 1v1 duelist. Unfortunately, outside of that 1v1, even with the Hallowed Mist coming through, we might all think it's broken. It's not enough here. Gabs will check their own jungle, but Ospreys have made an objective out of his blue buff.
And they have, but over the wall, onto Thresh, into the wall that's with the Flame, trying to buy as much time as they can. Yes, Yasuo is here, but that is a missed tornado. Now in danger, though, is Quinoa looking to find something. Look at the damage onto Mr. Blankington. The flanker is killed. All the while, though, Yasuo left in place, brought down for a double kill from Nah, and the fight continues as removes Zonya's, drops Boss Man Joe.
It's all Ospreys. They get 3 kills for nothing. Chimpao's go back in. They think that they can fight, but the Yasuo just not strong enough yet. He needs 2 items, and he only has 1.
Despite Gabs holding off 4 members of Ospreys on the wall, flexing his mad stacks. Unfortunately, the Gram gets everyone in frame. A huge soul shackles out from this Morgana, pushes Chimphouse out of their own jungle. And with that, they've just lost another pivotal team fight as slowly Ospreys generate more advantage.
They're trying to get on to Kunai there, but I'm not sure how doable that is. Instead, we're going to see another Supreme display of talent. That is just foul. Gwen is trying to heal him. It's not going to quite be enough. True Shot Barrage wasn't bad, though, to get the shutdown. Mundo gets hold of that. That's the punch the bang he got through. No way. And now look who's left out to try and split the flag into one more time.
It's the turnaround onto the Thresh. The Dark Binding won't be up for a few more seconds, but what a snipe onto the Mundo just when it looked like it was turning back into Chimpahouse's favor. And that was Instagram worthy.
We've had a lot of puns around 2 particular subjects this game. Instagram and the stock market. I'm aware of what is going on in social media over the last 6 months, but surely, lads, we've got something more in the tank. I've got to hope Chimphouse do as well, because they're looking like they're running a bit on empty here.
It is getting low in the gas. Even the members we've not been making memes of, Quinoa gets away from every single negative play, and the display of talent always looks
you wonder why they banned it.
Powerful. A justified ban in game 1 for sure. A risk you have to take in game 2 to get the Taric off the board. Kunai showing up, being the stable presence on this Karma, just going step by step. The Moonstone, the Petrifier, it's all adding up.
For Chimphouse on the biggest stage that they have played on so far. Their first time at a LAN, you know, we have to assume performing well. They have suffered, well, some risque fights in the first 10-15 minutes of this game, but they have come back calm and collected. And it's this man, Quinoa. He's waiting. This is the equivalent of not firing the trigger too early in CSGO, and he goes in now.
Oh my days. Boss Man Joan just gets deleted. There was no chance, no hope in hell. And speaking of hell, look who's here to bring him straight to it. Down into the grave goes Gwen. Ain't no coming back from that one. Viego ain't on the rip, but he'll surely take a dead Seamstress. 2 down, and they can think about Baron straight away.
Big Power has been on point with these Gnar ultimates. The first one, we saw a flash Insec in the mid lane, and once again picks off a key member of Chimpouse's composition.
We came into this series expecting it to be
I want to speak, but it's just nothing to say. It's just raw damage. Quinoa. Whatever's in that substance, it's a superfood, right? Because whatever's in the food, whatever's in the gold is buying you more damage than most other mids.
It's such an impressive performance from Quinoa. It's ridiculous. We came in expecting it to be Kunai popping off, but it has been all Quinoa and removes Zhonya's this series from Ospreys.
on the backside. Remove Zhonya's will pick up that Cloud Dragon, taking him to Cloud Soul Point. It's delayed. It doesn't matter. That's a good pick.
That seems to be the big man. Look at the damage turnaround. It's going to be a massive shutdown of 2 for the Gram. Or at least kills to that being big power. 2012 on a rampage. Quinoa gets Dr. Shank's fear, and they tried. They so desperately tried. It just wasn't enough.
Who caught who there? Quinoa was the one caught by the death sentence.
Why does this feel like deja vu of Game 1? Chimpow's trying to make plays, but it just does not work. Ospreys are just too far ahead right now. 7,000 gold up, 22 minutes into the game. And initialized, Ospreys are cracking open the base.
They are. Look at Kane here. 2 items complete pretty much across the board, as we mentioned. And yes, there's a Muramana even transformed for Quinoa. It's just so scary. They're up an inordinate amount of gold. They've got 3 dragons. They've got Baron to think about at some point. Chimpows need to pull out a miracle now.
They really do. In addition to that gold lead, to the experience leads, they've got 5 bounties here on Ospreys. They all went unclaimed. Well, we'll have 5 in a minute when Morgana gets another assist, no doubt. Even worse, Chimpows have a couple of ways to play into this composition. They are fading away rapidly. We're going to see no big last breaths. Someone can walk out of it with the Black Shield. We're going to see no Gwen 1v5s. The staging power, too strong from the Gnar, too strong from the Kayn. We're not going to see Bossman be able to play through a fight on this Ezreal. The damage, even with that Muramana completed, is still not quite there. Chimpows is running out of ways back in.
And we're talking about, composition, Chimpows with the Ezreal. They're looking to, slowly poke down Ospreys, but you're playing against a Karma, you're playing against a Morgana. You're not going to be able to poke them down through those shields.
All right, True Shot Barrage comes across. Chimpows know this is on. This is their last stand.
Do they risk it?
They have to.
They've got to think about it, but they've got to be so afraid walking in. That's Mundo, he's here.
That's the engage.
Look, on the other side of the screen, Quinoa deletes Gwen.
This is good for Chimpao.
The Umbral Trespass is going into Ezreal, but they need to get a lot of healing. Gonna go head forward, but he's getting shot to pieces, still alive somehow. Crown gets one, removes Onyas, gets the Ezreal. You might shoot the Umbral Trespasser, but he heals straight back up. Man is immortal, and they'll start straight back to the Baron. An ace for the Ospreys.
The only consolation prize for Dr. Shankin's Spear is a bit of a bounty for taking out Kunai's Karma. Everything else goes to Ospreys. The bank rolls in, they take the Baron, and they will look to take this game.
Remove Zhonya's on the backline on 2, and they can't kill him. Forget about removing Zhonya's, he just doesn't die.
Remove the enemy team, I think, is more appropriate.
Yeah, the health bars were removed, and I think a lot of hope for this game for Chimp being removed. Ospreys proving to be a little higher on the food chain than Chimps, it seems.
Soaring high in the sky today. Definitely over their opponents. Now, we see the resets come through. Ospreys have to do some careful assignment here. It is looking like a lost game for Chimpows. There are some cute picks they can do. We see no tier 3 in mid. We have to synchronize a wave either onto that top T2 or the bottom T2 with that mid. They have to keep guaranteeing this advantage. They are not quite home free just yet.
And for all the Chimp House fans sitting in that auditorium and watching, this is dire. We won't lie to you. This is a difficult situation. But now's the time to grit your teeth, you put your hands together, and pray that Chimp House can find that miracle play, that 1 in 100 chance.
There's a dream and 2 items on Yasuo and Ezreal. That is what you've got to hold on to. Remember that there's this range discrepancy. If you can keep these people at bay, you can potentially do something about it. I'm a little worried about the lack of executions, the little lack of anti-heal right now for Chimp House, especially versus some of these champions. But there is a hope here still, maybe.
Maybe. The Supreme Display of Talent falls just short, and it's only onto Flankington. That's a bit of a cooldown lost from Ospreys. You'll have to wait a little longer, as unfortunately that wave that was synchronized in the bot lane will fall to the tower.
And for Ospreys, tied first in their group in regular season. They beat Heckmondwick Hotshots and the Magical Unicorns. And now they're looking to go all the way after going 2-0 in the semi-finals against the other Farnborough team.
All together in the top lane, hand in hand.
United.
They are walking it in down the mid lane, down the top lane rather. I know where I am. I don't know. Do you guys know where you are?
I think I'm about to witness a little bit of BEA history as in comes so much damage. The tower is done and Chimp House have won. Last chance to hold on perhaps. 1 fight, 1 Baron push coming. They're going to head over to the second inhibitor or Ospreys, and we're looking like this might be game. maybe they back out.
Maybe they back out. They will collect their prize of 2 inhibitors. That last one, unfortunately, shielded by 2 towers still. The last part of Chimp House's infrastructure.
Ospreys playing it calm, they're playing it collected, the pressure, they know they are on the verge, they have one hand on that trophy, no mistakes. It's been so clean all series long, all season long from Ospreys, and they just need one final push.
It's not just the 2 items that are in for Chimp House. That's great, but looking at the other side, I'm now looking at 3 items. I'm now looking at Cloud Soul on a lot of people who, you know, don't mind that. You know, Karma can proc it all the time, Morgana with the Soul Shackles. There are a few people here who get a little bit scary once they get to start running around even faster.
We have double Moonstone set up on the bot lane from Kunai and the Graham as well.
I mean, who hurts them?
No healing reduction. Sound, well
done.
Yes,
You'll get there.
Quite. I'm so excited. Despite the double Moonstone, the only anti-heal here is the Bramble Vest on the Thresh. So when they're not hitting, and with that, 2 Executioner's Blades come through.
Literally, as you talk about it.
Thanks, guys.
Where they've managed to listen to you, but it might be just a bit too late. If my E was up, well, the flash was up, but it's not anymore. And they're forced back to the base. And Ospreys, they are circling. They're looking more like vultures right now. And Chimp House need to prove that they are more than a corpse, that there is some life in them yet. It's looking hard, but they maybe have one fight.
And for Ospreys, as you mentioned, they're circling. They can see so many cracks for Chimp House. They're deciding which one do they want to take? How do they want to take it? How do they want to savor this victory?
No AD carry, no problem. Who needs a standard composition when you can play like this? It's Nexus Towers standing between them and victory! As a supreme display of talent takes out the mid laner. Quinoa's at it again, and now they can keep going with the man advantage.
5v4 Chimp House, what can you do? It's time to unleash the chimps and open up the house.
They're trying, they're desperately trying, but there's an Umbral Trespass still available into Gwen, and Quinoa is unstoppable. Osprey's Shell are unstoppable. 1 Nexus Tower falls, Nar is forced onto the fountain, but he goes back around anyway and gets his way out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone back at home in the auditorium, will be it. Ospreys are your BEA Student Champions here from Division 1 in the League of Legends.
Ospreys, what a performance. Clinical in game 1, clinical in game 2. We came into this series thinking that Kunai would be the Pog, but Jasmine is ready in the studio or at stage with the players.
What an amazing performance indeed. Can we get Ospreys up on stage right now to congratulate them for being your League of Legends, Division 1 British Esports Student Champs. Make your way up here, guys. A huge congratulations to you guys. Which one of you is Quinoa? Not gonna lie, I was very tempted to pronounce it as quinoa, but okay, Quinoa. Let's go for that. Did you guys feel confident coming into this and taking that victory?
Actually, a lot of my team were really extremely confident, but I was pretty nervous about it. But they kept me in check and made sure that I was confident in my gameplay and my team gameplay.
I think that's incredibly important to have that team believing in one another, right? Exactly that. So congratulations to yourself and your teammates. I'm gonna let you guys take away your trophy. So if you'd like to lift it up one by one or all at once, it's up to you guys.
All the things I want to without trying. Oh, to find a way to get close to you. It's so hard to say all the things I want to. I'm waiting to let you know how much you want.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back very soon with some interviews. Do stay tuned. You'll be able to hear some more from these guys over here. Congratulations once again, guys.